My chosen one. This is not a message you clicked by accident. This is not just another video passing through your screen. This is a divine interruption. Archangel Michael warns you will cry for the rest of your life if you skip this. He is tired of trying to contact you while you ignore his voice. Read that again in your spirit. You felt something when you saw those words. A pause, a heaviness, a strange pull in your chest. That was not fear. That was recognition. Because deep down, you already know this is true. For weeks, maybe months, there have been signs, repeated numbers of sudden thoughts about your future, random waves of emotion when you were alone, a whisper telling you to change something, to leave something, to confront something, to pray, to prepare, and you ignored it. Not because you are evil, not because you are faithless, but because you are distracted. Archangel Michael has been sent as a protector and a warrior over your destiny. He does not whisper without reason. He does not knock without urgency. And he does not repeat warnings unless the situation is critical. There is a decision hovering over your life right now. A decision you keep postponing. A truth you keep avoiding. A door you keep pretending you do not see. Listen carefully. This is where everything shifts. If you continue pretending not to hear the divine instructions, the consequence will not be instant destruction. It will be something slower, something more painful. Regret. A slow realization 5 years from now. A quiet breakdown when you finally understand you were warned. A private tear when you remember this exact moment and realize heaven tried to protect you. Archangel Michael is not threatening you. He is grieving the version of you that refuses to awaken. You think you have time. You think the feeling will return later. You think the voice will grow louder tomorrow. But what if this is the final gentle warning before silence? What if heaven has been patient but your delay is exhausting your protection window? You have been sensing a shift around your home environment. Something feels spiritually off. Not dramatic, not loud, just heavy. That heaviness is not random. There is energy around you that does not align with your calling. Conversations that drain you. Influences that confuse you. Habits that numb you. And every time Archangel Michael tries to redirect you, you drown it out with noise, scrolling, overthinking, avoiding. He's tired. Not tired of loving you. Never that. Tired of watching you choose less when you were marked for more. You were not born to live in constant confusion. You were not created to second-guess your worth. You were not designed to stay stuck in a cycle that heaven already gave you the key to exit. And here is the revelation that will shake you. The thing you think is protecting your comfort is actually imprisoning your future. Let that sink in. There is a relationship, a pattern, or an attachment that feels safe because it is familiar. But familiarity is not destiny. Archangel Michael has stood at the edge of your spiritual battlefield longer than you realize. Battles you never saw were fought for you. Delays that could have destroyed you were blocked. Doors that would have trapped you were closed quietly. And still, when he nudges you toward alignment, you hesitate. Why? Because change feels risky. But what is riskier? Change now or tears later? This message carries urgency because the timeline is tightening. Opportunities do not stay open forever. Divine protection operates within obedience. When you align, you activate covering. When you ignore, you step outside of it. No, this is not about fear. This is about awareness. Something significant is approaching your life. A shift, an exposure of truth, a revelation that will make everything clear. But if you are spiritually asleep when it happens, you will misinterpret it. You will call it loss instead of rescue. You will call it betrayal instead of divine separation. Archangel Michael is trying to prepare you in advance. He needs your attention. Have you noticed how lately you cannot fully enjoy distractions? Even when you try to escape into entertainment or noise, something inside you feels unsettled. That unrest is sacred. It is a signal. Heaven is knocking louder. And here is the part you must not ignore. If you continue to silence this voice, eventually it will stop trying to be gentle. Not because you are abandoned, but because destiny cannot wait forever. Imagine looking back years from now, whispering, "I was warned." Imagine realizing the signs were clear. Imagine knowing you chose comfort over calling. That is the crying being spoken of. Not punishment. Regret. But the story does not have to end that way. Right now, as you listen, you are at a crossroads. One path leads to temporary ease and long-term sorrow. The other leads to uncomfortable obedience and lifelong peace. Archangel Michael stands on the path of obedience, sword lowered, hand extended, not to threaten you, but to guide you. The question is not whether he is speaking. The question is whether you will finally respond. And what you are about to understand next will explain why the signs have intensified recently and why ignoring them any longer could shift your entire future in ways you are not ready for. Beloved soul, the reason the signs have intensified is because the window is narrowing. Archangel Michael does not raise his voice without purpose. When heaven repeats itself, it is not for drama. It is because destiny is at the door, and delay is becoming dangerous. You have been feeling pressure lately, but not the kind that comes from outside circumstances alone. This pressure feels internal. It wakes you up at night. It makes you stare at the ceiling and question everything. It interrupts your distractions. It even follows you into moments that should feel peaceful. That is not anxiety without cause. That is spiritual urgency. Archangel Michael has been assigned to guard a specific calling over your life. There is something you are meant to build, step into, or walk away from. But you have been negotiating with what God already decided. You keep asking for one more confirmation, one more sign, one more delay. Yet how many confirmations do you need before obedience becomes obvious? The truth is simple and hard at the same time. You are not confused. You are resisting. There is a difference. Confusion asks questions because it lacks clarity. Resistance asks questions because it fears change. And if you are honest with yourself, the message has been clear for a while now. You just hoped it would fade so you would not have to act. Archangel Michael is tired of repeating instructions that you already understand. Every time you silence that inner nudge, you train yourself to ignore divine guidance. And that is where the real danger begins. Not in one missed opportunity, but in a habit of spiritual deafness. Have you noticed how certain conversations lately feel exposed? As if masks are slipping. As if people around you are revealing who they truly are. That is not random. When heaven prepares to shift your life, it first reveals what cannot go with you. And sometimes that revelation hurts. You may feel disappointed in someone. You may feel unsettled in your own home. You may feel like the environment that once felt safe now feels heavy. That is because growth changes your spiritual temperature. What once matched you no longer does. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of your environment, discerning what is aligned and what is draining you. But he will not force you to release what you insist on holding. Protection requires participation. There is something specific you have been postponing. a conversation, a boundary, a decision, a step of faith. Every day you delay, the weight grows heavier. Not because heaven is punishing you, but because unmade decisions accumulate pressure. And here is the revelation you did not expect. The tears you are being warned about are not only yours. They are connected to others who are tied to your obedience. When you delay your calling, it affects more than you. There are people assigned to the breakthrough that flows through your yes. When you stall, their blessing stalls too. This is bigger than comfort. This is generational. Archangel Michael had been shielding you from consequences you do not even see. But protection is not meant to replace obedience. It is meant to support it. If you continue ignoring the voice, eventually heaven steps back and allows you to learn through experience what you refuse to learn through guidance. And that lesson always costs more. Right now, you are still in the mercy window. You are still in the moment where correction is gentle. You are still in the space where one brave decision can realign everything. But do not mistake patience for permission. You may wonder, why is this message so intense? Because your destiny is not average. Average lives do not receive this level of warning. Average callings do not require angelic intervention. Something about you carries weight in the spiritual realm. That is why the battle around your attention has been so strong. Distraction has been strategic. Exhaustion has been targeted. Doubt has been planted carefully. But you are waking up now. And if this message resonates, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video, so more chosen ones can encounter this warning. Share it with someone who had been sensing the same unrest. Comment below if you feel that pressure in your spirit. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this movement where divine messages are spoken without compromise. Join the membership if you feel called to stand closer to these revelations. Because what is coming next will go even deeper. The next revelation will expose why certain doors closed abruptly in your life and why one specific relationship or situation is about to be brought into the light. You will want to hear this carefully. The pattern you thought was coincidence is about to make sense. And once you see it, you will never doubt the voice of Archangel Michael again. Faithful one, what you are about to understand will explain why certain doors in your life did not just close. They slammed shut without warning. You called it rejection. You called it bad timing. You even questioned your worth because of it. But Archangel Michael was standing in that moment, sword drawn, blocking something your emotions could not see. There was a path you were ready to walk down. It looked promising. It felt familiar. It even seemed safe. But safety without destiny is a disguised trap. And heaven will sometimes disrupt what feels stable in order to protect what is sacred. Think back carefully. There was a moment when something you wanted deeply was suddenly removed. A plan fell apart. A connection shifted. An opportunity dissolved right when you thought it was secure. At the time, you felt confusion. You felt frustration. Maybe even embarrassment. But what you did not see was the spiritual interception taking place behind the scenes. Archangel Michael does not fight random battles. He fights targeted ones. And the reason that door was closed is because what was behind it would have drained your calling slowly. It would have looked productive on the outside while quietly weakening you on the inside. There are attachments that feel like progress but are actually delays. You were seconds away from investing years into something that would not carry your future. And because you were emotionally attached, you would have stayed longer than you should have. Heaven stepped in before the damage became permanent. But here is where it becomes personal. Instead of recognizing protection, you questioned the process. Instead of thanking God for redirection, You tried to reopen what was sealed. You knocked on doors that were intentionally locked. You attempted to revive conversations that were divinely concluded. And that is why the warning intensified. Archangel Michael is not only protecting you from external threats, he is protecting you from your own persistence in the wrong direction. There is a pattern in your life. When something ends abruptly, you assume you need to fix it. You assume closure must come from explanation. But sometimes closure is simply removal. You were not meant to understand every intersection immediately. Some revelations are timed, and this is one of them. A relationship or situation that shifted unexpectedly carried hidden weight. There were conversations happening about you that you never heard. There were intentions forming that did not align with your growth. There were compromises waiting that would have slowly reshaped your standards. And because you are loyal by nature, you would have endured it quietly. Archangel Michael saw what you did not. He saw the subtle manipulation. He saw the emotional imbalance. He saw the long-term erosion that would have occurred. And so he acted. But here is the truth you must face now. The next exposure is coming. Something that had been concealed is about to surface. Not to embarrass you, but to harm you, but to confirm that the separation was necessary. You will soon see evidence that the closed door was a rescue mission. When that revelation comes, do not harden your heart. Do not say, "I knew it," with pride. Instead, say, "Thank you for protecting me when I could not protect myself." Because humility keeps the covering strong. Archangel Michael grows weary not because you fail, but because you doubt divine intervention after it saves you. Each time heaven blocks something, and you mourn it instead of trusting it, you delay your own peace. And this next exposure will be undeniable. You may overhear something. You may discover information unexpectedly. You may see behavior that confirms what your spirit sensed long ago. When it happens, remember this message. It was never random. It was preparation. You are being repositioned for something cleaner, something aligned, something that does not require you to shrink or question your intuition. But the repositioning requires release. If you cling to what has already been removed, you step outside of protection, and that is when regret begins to form. This is your moment to shift your response. Instead of chasing what left, prepare for what is arriving. Instead of grieving what ended, strengthen yourself for what begins. Archangel Michael stands beside those who trust the redirection. Right now, in this very second, you are still within the mercy window. The exposure has not yet fully unfolded. The confirmation is on its way. And when it arrives, it will feel like scales falling from your eyes. Do not fear it. It is clarity. And clarity is mercy. If this message is striking your spirit, if you feel the weight of recognition in your chest, then seal this moment with agreement. Type "I receive divine protection" in the comments if this confirms what you have been sensing. Blessing code 4449 is now activated over your path. And as this revelation settles in your heart, understand something powerful. When you sow into a message that protects destinies, you participate in that protection multiplying. Heaven says, "As you give, it shall be given unto you, pressed down and running over." This is not about supporting a channel. This is about fueling a trumpet that warns souls before regret finds them. If your spirit is stirred right now, let your obedience move. Release a super thanks as a prophetic seed. Join the membership as a covenant of alignment. Sow through the PayPal link in the description as an act of agreement with divine protection over your life. When you give into a warning like this, you are not losing. You are planting. and every seed planted in obedience calls down covering over your house. Do not hesitate when heaven nudges you to act. Step into this moment boldly. Activate your support now and seal your alignment with the protection being released over you. Anointed listener, now that you understand the door was closed for your protection, you must prepare for what comes after protection, separation. Because every divine rescue is followed by a divine division. Archangel Michael does not only block danger, he also clears territory. There is a shift happening in your environment. You have felt it in subtle ways. Conversations do not flow the same. Certain people seem distant. Some energy feels tense without explanation. You may even feel slightly isolated, as if you are standing in a room full of people but spiritually alone. Do not misinterpret this season. Isolation is not abandonment. It is refinement. When Archangel Michael removes interference from your path, there is often a quiet space that follows. That space can feel uncomfortable because you were used to noise. You were used to constant interaction, constant validation, constant emotional movement. Now things feel still. But stillness is where instruction becomes clear. You asked for clarity. You prayed for direction. You wanted confirmation. And confirmation requires separation from distraction. The reason you feel different in familiar spaces is because your spirit has advanced. What once entertained you now exhausts you. What once oppressed you now feels shallow. This is growth, not loss. Yet here's where many make a mistake. When the separation begins, they panic. They try to restore old dynamics. They try to force connection where heaven has quietly withdrawn grace. They overextend themselves to maintain relationships that no longer align with their assignment. Archangel Michael watches this with concern. Because every time you force what God is dissolving, you reopen doors that were sealed for your future. There is someone in your circle who cannot go where you are going. Not because they are evil, not because they are cursed, but because their journey and your journey are diverging. And the longer you attempt to synchronize paths that are splitting, the more tension you will feel. Pay attention to who resists your growth. Pay attention to who becomes uncomfortable when you speak about change, faith, elevation, discipline, or purpose. Pay attention to who subtly tries to pull you back into old habits when you are trying to evolve. These are not coincidences. When Archangel Michael prepares you for a new level, resistance increases from familiar places. It does not always come from strangers. Often, it comes from those who are comfortable with the older version of you. But you are not called to remain small to keep others comfortable. You have sensed that something bigger is ahead. A transition. A new responsibility. A calling that requires maturity and spiritual focus. And this is why distractions are being removed. However, here is the critical warning. Do not interpret separation as rejection from God. The enemy would love for you to believe that the quiet season means you did something wrong. He would love for you to return to noise just to avoid feeling alone. But alone does not mean unprotected. In fact, some of the strongest protection happens in seasons of separation. Archangel Michael positions himself closer when your circle grows smaller. He guards your thoughts more fiercely when your influences are fewer. You are not being reduced. You are being refined. And refinement is not comfortable. There will be moments in the season where you question your decision to obey. You may miss the familiarity of old connections. You may feel tempted to reach back. But remember what was revealed earlier. What was removed was draining you slowly. You cannot carry old weight into new territory. Something is coming that requires clarity of mind and strength of spirit. A decision will soon present itself that demands confidence. If you were still entangled in the previous dynamics, you would hesitate. But through separation, you are being strengthened. Archangel Michael is preparing you for alignment. And alignment demands courage. The tears you were warned about earlier do not have to be yours. They can belong to the version of you that refused to grow. That version is fading now. You are stepping into awareness. You are recognizing patterns. You are discerning energy. You are listening more closely. That is transformation. Do not rush this stage. Do not try to fill the silence with distractions. Sit in it. Pray in it. Think in it. Let clarity solidify. Because very soon you will be asked to choose boldly. And when that moment arrives, hesitation will cost more than obedience. Archangel Michael is not tired of guiding you. He is tired of watching you doubt your own elevation. The more you trust the process, the stronger the covering becomes. Right now, separation may feel uncomfortable, but soon, it will feel like freedom. And what you are about to realize next will reveal why this refinement was necessary, because an opportunity is approaching that cannot coexist with your old environment. Chosen vessel, what is approaching you cannot hinder chaos. That is why your environment had to shift before the opportunity could appear. Archangel Michael has not only been guarding you from harm, he hath been clearing space for arrival. There is something significant moving toward your life right now. You have sensed it in subtle anticipation. A feeling that something is about to change. A quiet expectation you cannot explain. That sensation is not imagination. It is preparation. But here is the part that requires maturity. What is coming will test whether you truly listened to the warnings or merely felt emotional during them. Because when opportunity arrives, it often comes disguised as responsibility. You have been asking for elevation. You have been praying for increase, breakthrough, recognition, stability, expansion. Yet elevation requires structure. Breakthrough requires discipline. Recognition requires readiness. And expansion demands sacrifice. Archangel Michael has been strengthening your internal foundation for this reason. If this new door had opened 6 months ago, you might have mishandled it. If it had appeared during your season of distraction, you might have overlooked it. If it had come while you were still emotionally entangled in draining attachments, you might have sabotaged it. Timing matters. Heaven is precise. The opportunity coming toward you will require a decision within a narrow window. It will not wait forever. It will not beg for your attention. It will appear clearly, but it will require courage to accept. And here is what makes it intense. Accepting this opportunity will confirm that certain chapters are truly over. You will not be able to step into this new space while secretly holding on to the past. This is why separation had to happen first. Archangel Michael does not fight for your destiny just for you to hesitate at the threshold. You may already feel the shift in your confidence. You are thinking differently. You are questioning your patterns. You are analyzing your habits. That is not overthinking. That is recalibration. However, a final distraction will attempt to pull you backward before the opportunity manifests. This is common before major alignment. Something familiar may resurface. An old contact may reach out. A past situation may try to reopen. It will feel tempting because it is known territory. But known territory is not always promised territory. This is the moment where many lose momentum. They mistake nostalgia for confirmation. They assume familiarity equals safety. But Archangel Michael is warning you now so you do not fall into that cycle. If something resurfaces that once strained you, pause. Do not react emotionally. Ask yourself whether this aligns with the direction you are being led. Ask whether engaging it would strengthen or weaken your readiness. Your discernment must mature, because what is coming carries weight. This opportunity may involve your career, your living situation, your purpose work, or a divine partnership aligned with growth. It will stretch you. It will demand organization. It will require you to trust your inner voice without needing constant external validation. And this is why ignoring Archangel Michael's guidance earlier would have led to regret. You would have been unprepared for what is now at your doorstep. Imagine standing before a door you prayed for, but feeling insecure because you never dealt with your internal resistance. Imagine watching someone else step into a role you were meant to fill because you hesitated too long. Imagine realizing you were warned, prepared, and positioned, but you delayed action. That is the sorrow you were being protected from. But you are still within the mercy window. The difference now is awareness. You are conscious of the stakes. You understand the pattern. You recognize the cost of delay. That awareness is power. Archangel Michael stands beside you not only as protector but as encourager. He is not exhausted with you. He is urging you forward. He is reminding you that fear of change cannot outweigh the promise of growth. The opportunity approaching you is not random chance. It is a response to obedience forming in you. It is heaven's answer aligning with your gradual surrender. But here is the final preparation. When the moment arrives, act decisively. Do not consult voices that do not understand your calling. Do not seek validation from those who are comfortable with your smaller version. Seek confirmation through prayer, through stillness, through alignment. You will know. There will be peace beneath the fear. There will be clarity beneath the pressure. There will be excitement beneath the uncertainty. That is how divine alignment feels. The tears that were once predicted are dissolving because you are choosing to listen. But the story is not finished. There is one more layer you must understand. The internal battle that could still sabotage everything if left unchecked. And what you are about to uncover next will expose the silent struggle within you that Archangel Michael has been fighting alongside you this entire time. Warrior in waiting, the greatest battle surrounding your destiny has not been external. It has been internal. Archangel Michael has stood guard over your circumstances, but the silent war has been unfolding inside your own thoughts. You have moments of bold faith followed by waves of doubt. You feel clarity during prayer, then confusion when you step back into routine life. You sense your calling strongly at night, then question it in the morning. This back and forth has drained more of your energy than any outside opposition ever could. Understand this clearly. The enemy does not always attack your environment first. He attacks your perception. If he can make you question what God already confirmed, he does not need to block your opportunity. You will block it yourself. Archangel Michael has been intercepting fiery thoughts you never even realized were not your own. Sudden discouragement, irrational insecurity, the quiet whisper that says, "You are not ready." These thoughts appear subtle, but they are strategic. Because if you believe you are unprepared, you will hesitate when the moment to step forward arrives. This is the internal struggle you must confront now. You are more prepared than you think. You are more protected than you feel. You are more capable than your fear admits. But capability means nothing if confidence is constantly undermined. That is why this next stage of your journey requires mental discipline. You cannot allow every thought to settle in your mind as truth. You must filter. When a thought says you will fail, ask where that voice originates. When it says, you are behind in life, question its authority. When it says, others are more qualified, challenge its evidence. Archangel Michael does not fight for those who refuse to fight within themselves. He strengthens those who rise mentally and spiritually. Here is a reason you have been feeling mentally stretched lately. Heaven hath been training your discernment. You are learning to separate emotion from revelation. You are learning to distinguish fear from intuition. And that skill will determine your next breakthrough. But here is something deeper. Part of your internal struggle comes from past disappointment. You stepped out before and it did not work the way you hoped. You trusted before and felt let down. You tried before and experienced delay. That memory has been sitting quietly inside you, influencing your current decisions. Archangel Michael understands that history. He was present in those seasons too. What you interpreted as failure was often redirection. What you saw as delay was refinement. Yet if you carry old pain into new opportunities, you will sabotage fresh blessings with outdated fear. This is the moment to release that weight. Not by pretending it did not hurt. Not by suppressing it. But by reframing it. Every past experience shaped your wisdom. Every disappointment sharpened your discernment. Every delay strengthened your patience. You are not the same person who tried before. That version of you was still learning. This version has awareness. However, the enemy hopes you will treat your past as prophecy instead of preparation. He wants you to assume that because something failed once, it will fail again. But growth changes outcomes. Archangel Michael is urging you to renew your mind before the opportunity fully manifests. Speak differently about yourself. Think differently about your future. Refuse to rehearse worst-case scenarios, because your words align your direction. If you declare uncertainty constantly, you will hesitate. If you declare readiness, you will move. This internal alignment is not optional. It is essential. And as you work through this mental battlefield, do not isolate yourself in silence. Engage with this message actively. Like this video as a declaration that you are choosing faith over fear. Comment below what internal struggle you are ready to overcome. Share this message with someone who battles self-doubt silently. Subscribe to this channel if you are committed to strengthening your spiritual discipline. Join the membership if you want to stand in deeper alignment with messages that sharpen your awareness. Because what is about to unfold next will test not just your courage but your trust. There will be a moment where logic and faith stand side by side, and you must decide which one leads. And trust me, the next revelation will challenge you in a way that demands full spiritual maturity. What you are about to hear will either solidify your confidence or expose where you still hesitate. Stay mentally ready. The shift is closer than you think. Steadfast soul, now comes the moment where faith and logic will stand face to face. You have been strengthened internally. You have been separated from distractions. You have been warned about delay. But the true test is approaching quietly, and it will not look dramatic at first. It will look practical. It will look like a simple decision. It will appear as a choice between what makes sense and what feels called. And this is where many destinies quietly drift off course. Archangel Michael has not been preparing you for comfort. He had been preparing you for courage. Because the opportunity that approaches you carries a requirement that logic alone cannot satisfy. There will be voices around you offering reasonable advice. They will tell you to play it safe. They will encourage you to wait for more certainty. They will remind you of risks. None of those voices will sound malicious. In fact, they will sound wise. But wisdom without spiritual discernment can become limitation. You must understand something critical right now. Not every safe option is aligned. Not every stable path is assigned. Not every reasonable suggestion is righteous for your journey. The test will not be whether the opportunity is good. The test will be whether it is yours. Archangel Michael is watching how you respond to internal prompting. When you sense peace about something that does not fully make sense on paper, that is where maturity activates. Faith does not ignore logic, but it is not imprisoned by it either. You are entering a threshold season. This threshold is delicate. One decision will anchor you into acceleration. The other will anchor you into repetition. Not destruction. Not immediate sorrow. But repetition. The same lessons. The same frustrations. The same feeling of almost. You have felt almost before. Almost the breakthrough. Almost the relationship that aligned. Almost the opportunity that expanded you. Almost stepping fully into your potential. That word has followed you longer than it should have. And Archangel Michael is tired of watching you live in almost when you were marked for arrival. The reason this next decision matters so deeply is because it will either break the cycle or confirm it. You will recognize the moment because it will stretch you beyond comfort but not beyond capacity. There is a difference. When something is beyond your capacity, it produces chaos and confusion. When something stretches you within calling, it produces nervous excitement and focused clarity at the same time. Pay attention to that combination. You may feel afraid, but you will not feel scattered. You may feel uncertain about details, but you will feel certain about direction. That is alignment. However, here is the subtle danger. Old voices from your past may resurface in your mind during this threshold. Memories of times you were doubted. Words spoken over you that limited you. Opinions that made you shrink. If you allow those echoes to influence your present, you will hesitate at the exact moment courage is required. Archangel Michael hath been fighting to silence those echoes. But you must cooperate. When the choice appears, do not rush into panic. Do not consult fear. Step back. Breathe. Pray. Ask for confirmation from within, not from a crowd. Because crowds rarely understand callings. This next step may alter your environment, your routine, or your identity. It may require sacrifice in one area to gain expansion in another. And that is where logic may protest. Logic will say, what if it does not work? Faith will say, what if it does? Logic will calculate loss. Faith will calculate growth. You must decide which voice leads. Archangel Michael is not asking you to leap blindly. He is asking you to trust the preparation you have already received. Every warning, every separation, every internal battle has brought you to this point. You are not at the threshold by accident. You were guided here. And here is something profound. If you choose courage in this moment, the tears you were warned about earlier will never materialize. Instead of regret, you will experience gratitude. Instead of sorrow, you will experience expansion. But if you retreat into comfort, the cycle will quietly continue. Life will not collapse. It will simply remain smaller than it was meant to be. That is the silent tragedy Archangel Michael has been trying to prevent. You are closer than you realize. The threshold is within reach. And what you are about to uncover next will reveal the hidden confirmation that heaven is about to send. A sign so specific, so personal, that you will no longer question whether this message was meant for you. Awakened heart, the confirmation you have been waiting for is closer than your doubt. Archangel Michael does not prepare you for a threshold without also arranging a sign. Heaven understands that courage sometimes needs reassurance. And what is about to unfold will feel too precise to dismiss. Within a short span of time, you are going to notice repetition. Not random repetition, but intentional alignment. A phrase spoken by two different people. a scripture appearing more than once, a dream that lingers beyond sleep, a number sequence that follows you unexpectedly. These are not coincidences. They are markers. Archangel Michael uses patterns to pierce through skepticism. You have asked for clarity, but you also demanded that the clarity be undeniable. You said in your heart, "If this is truly from God, let it be confirmed." That prayer was heard. But understand this clearly. Confirmation does not replace obedience. It strengthens it. When this sign appears, it will connect directly to the decision you have been wrestling with. It will not answer every detail. It will not map out the entire future. But it will anchor your spirit. And when you feel that anchor, do not delay again. There is something powerful about immediate obedience. It signals trust. It activates momentum. It tells heaven that preparation was not wasted. Archangel Michael responds swiftly to decisive faith. But if you hesitate even after confirmation, you risk dulling your spiritual sensitivity. Repeated delay hardens discernment, and you have come too far to become numb now. You may wonder why the sign has not already appeared. Because heaven waits for readiness. If confirmation had come while you were still emotionally entangled, you would have interpreted it through confusion. Now your spirit is clearer. Now your heart is steadier. Now you can recognize it. And here is what makes this moment sacred. The sign will not only confirm direction, it will expose something hidden. You will see evidence that the path you almost chose would have limited you. You will glimpse what was quietly avoided. That revelation will seal your confidence. You will realize that protection was not theory. It was intervention. Archangel Michael has been standing between you and regret. And when the confirmation arrives, you will feel gratitude instead of frustration for the delays you once questioned. However, there is still a choice involved. Even with signs, free will remains. Heaven does not force destiny. It invites alignment. You must choose to act when clarity comes. This is your turning point. You have felt warning. You have experienced separation. You have confronted internal doubt. Now you are stepping into confirmation. This sequence is intentional. It is structured. It is merciful. Do not treat this moment casually. When the sign appears, pause and acknowledge it. Speak gratitude out loud. Affirm your readiness. Then move. Even if the step is small, let it be forward. Archangel Michael is not tired of guiding you. He is tired of watching you postpone joy. Yes, joy. Because on the other side of this decision is not only growth but peace. A stability you have not felt in years. A confidence that does not require constant reassurance. A rhythm that feels aligned instead of forced. You were not created to live in constant hesitation. And the confirmation coming to you is heaven's final gentle nudge before acceleration. If this message resonates deeply, seal it in agreement. Type "I trust" the sign in the comments if you are ready to act when confirmation arrives. Blessing code 8181 is now released over your discernment. And as you stand at this sacred edge, understand that when you help carry a message like this into the world, you participate in divine timing for others. Scripture declares that when you sow beside still waters, your roots will not fear heat. This is not about funding content. This is about fueling clarity for souls who are one decision away from regret. If your spirit feels stirred, let your action reflect it. Release a super thanks as a prophetic agreement with your own breakthrough. Step into membership as a declaration that you walk in alignment. Sow through the PayPal link in the description as a seed into divine confirmation flowing not only to you but through you. When you give in faith, You are not losing resources. You are planting into open heavens. And what is planted in obedience multiplies in protection. Do not delay your response. Move now, and let your support become part of someone else's answered prayer. Courageous spirit, once confirmation arrives and you choose obedience, acceleration begins. But acceleration does not always feel like speed. Sometimes it feels like pressure. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly so you do not misinterpret growth as attack. When things begin to move, responsibilities increase. Expectations rise. Visibility expands. And with that expansion comes weight. Not destructive weight, but stretching weight. The kind that builds capacity. You may notice that after you act on the confirmation, small tests follow. Delays that seem inconvenient. Minor misunderstandings. Unexpected adjustments. These are not signs you chose wrong. They are calibration moments. Archangel Michael refines warriors before promotion stabilizes. You are stepping into a higher level of awareness. And higher awareness demands stronger discipline. If before you could afford to procrastinate, now you cannot. If before you could entertain negative thinking casually, now it drains you faster. If before you could tolerate misalignment quietly, now it disrupts your peace immediately. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is elevation. The tears you were warned about at the beginning of this journey were tied to long-term regret. But what you may experience in this stage are short-term discomforts. Do not confuse the two. Short-term discomfort builds strength. Long-term regret builds sorrow. You are choosing strength. However, there is something you must guard carefully now. Pride. When clarity comes and doors begin to open, there is a subtle temptation to think you navigated everything alone. To believe your intelligence, your timing, your strategy created the shift. That mindset slowly distances you from the very guidance that positioned you here. Archangel Michael protects the humble, not the self-sufficient. Remain grateful. Remain prayerful. Remain aware that unseen battles are still being fought on your behalf. Just because you cannot see resistance does not mean it has disappeared. It has simply been managed. This is also the stage where comparison may try to creep in. As your path accelerates, you may glance sideways and measure your progress against others. You may question why someone else appears further ahead or moving faster. Do not fall into that trap. Your journey has been customized. The delays you experience shaped a resilience others may not possess. The internal battles you overcame forged discernment many still lack. You are not behind. You are being aligned precisely. Archangel Michael does not rush divine assignments. He orchestrates them. You may also feel moments of fatigue during acceleration. Growth requires energy. Expansion demands adjustment. But fatigue does not mean failure. It means transition. Rest when necessary, but do not retreat. There is a difference. Retreat pulls you back into old cycles. Rest prepares you for continued forward motion. Learn to recognize which one you are choosing. As new responsibilities settle into your life, establish boundaries early. Do not allow the excitement of opportunity to push you into overcommitment. Protect your time. Protect your focus. Protect your peace. Archangel Michael can guard your path, but you must guard your priorities. This season will teach you balance. It will stretch your leadership. It will require maturity in conversations, decisions, and reactions. But you are capable. Remember the internal battle you overcame. Remember the separation you endured. Remember the confirmation that anchored you. All of it was training for this stage. And here is something powerful. You are not only shifting for yourself. Others are watching you silently. They may never admit it. They may never say they draw strength from your courage. But your obedience creates permission for someone else to step forward. This is how impact multiplies. The sorrow that once threatened your future is dissolving into influence. The hesitation that once slowed you is transforming into authority. The confusion that once clouded you is clearing into vision. But remain alert. Acceleration can attract distraction disguised as opportunity. Not every open door now is yours to walk through. Discernment must continue. Just because you moved correctly once does not mean every option is aligned. Stay anchored. Archangel Michael has not stepped away. He is walking with you into this expansion. And as you move forward, one final revelation remains: the legacy impact of this decision and how it will echo far beyond what you currently see. What you are about to understand next will reveal why this warning was so urgent from the beginning, and how your obedience shifts more than just your own future. Radiant soul, the reason this warning carried such urgency from the very beginning is because your decision was never only about you. Archangel Michael has been fighting for more than your comfort. He has been guarding a ripple effect that stretches beyond what you can currently see. Every major decision creates a legacy line, a direction that influences not only your present but your future relationships, your influence, your household, and even those who observe you from a distance. What you choose at a threshold becomes a pattern others inherit. If you had ignored the voice, delayed again, and retreated into familiarity, the impact would not have ended with your own regret. It would have shaped how others view courage. It would have subtly taught those around you that fear is safer than faith. It would have reinforced cycles that were meant to be broken through you. That is why Archangel Michael grew urgent. You are a cycle breaker whether you realize it or not. There are patterns in your bloodline, patterns in your environment, patterns in your history that were quietly waiting for someone brave enough to interrupt them. Procrastination, settling, shrinking, doubting, over-accommodating, playing small to avoid criticism. His patterns survived because no one confronted them with conviction. What you did, when you chose obedience at the threshold, you did more than accept an opportunity. You disrupted a generational rhythm. You shifted the trajectory of conversations that will happen years from now. You altered how those who know you will interpret courage. That is legacy. Archangel Michael understands the spiritual architecture of your life. He sees connections you cannot see. He understands how one act of faith today opens 10 unseen doors tomorrow. That is why the warning sounded intense. Because the cost of ignoring it was larger than you imagined. However, legacy does not build itself automatically. It must be maintained intentionally. Now that you have stepped forward, consistency becomes your ally. Show up when it is inconvenient. Honor commitments even when excitement fades. Protect your discipline when distractions try to creep back in. This is where influence solidifies. There will be moments when you feel unseen again. Moments when you question whether your obedience truly mattered. But seeds do not reveal roots immediately. Impact often grows silently before it becomes visible. Trust the process. And here is something you must not forget. The same voice that warned you will continue guiding you. Do not treat this experience as a one-time intervention. Build a lifestyle of listening. Make space for quiet reflection. Reduce noise that dulls discernment. Strengthen your spiritual routine so guidance feels natural, not rare. Archangel Michael is not only present in crisis, he is present in consistency. If this message has walked with you from the beginning, and you feel its truth anchoring deeper now, Do not keep silent about it. Like this video as a declaration that you choose legacy over limitation. Share it with someone who stands at their own threshold. Comment below what cycle you believe you just broke. Subscribe to this channel if you are committed to living with awareness instead of drifting through life. Join the membership if you want to stay aligned with messages that sharpen your courage and clarity. Because what you are about to understand next will bring everything full circle. You will see how the tears that were once predicted have transformed into testimony. You will understand how close you came to repeating an old pattern and how divine interruption redirected your story. The warning was not meant to frighten you. It was meant to awaken you. And now that you are awake, there is one final truth you must receive, a truth that will anchor your confidence permanently and silence any remaining doubt about whether heaven truly intervened on your behalf. Prepare your spirit. The closing revelation will seal what has begun. Beloved overcomer, everything now comes full circle. The warning that once sounded intense, almost unsettling, was never meant to produce fear. It was meant to interrupt a slow drift. Archangel Michael was not announcing punishment. He was preventing a quiet tragedy. You almost normalized your own delay. You almost convinced yourself that later was safe. You almost accepted a version of life that looked stable but felt incomplete. That is the truth. The tears that were spoken of at the beginning were not dramatic public sorrow. They were private realizations. The kind that come when a person sits alone and whispers, "I knew I should have acted." The kind that surface when years pass and patterns remain unchanged. Archangel Michael saw that timeline forming and intervened. Now look at where you stand. You have chosen differently. You have listened more closely. You have stepped forward despite discomfort. The internal hesitation that once controlled you no longer has the same authority. That is transformation. But here is the final revelation you must anchor deeply. Divine warnings are expressions of love. When heaven is silent, that is when you should worry. But when guidance repeats, when nudges intensify, when messages confront you directly, that is evidence of value. You were warned because you matter. You were corrected because your future carries weight. Archangel Michael does not exhaust effort on insignificant paths. There was something about your calling that required protection at this precise moment. A narrow intersection of timing and choice. A decision that would either unlock alignment or reinforce stagnation. You stood at that intersection, and you did not walk away this time. That matters more than you realize. However, do not assume the journey ahead will be free from challenge. Growth continues. New thresholds will appear. Different decisions will arise. But now you have a reference point. Now you know what divine interruption feels like. Now you recognize the voice that urges you forward. That recognition is powerful. In the future, when hesitation tries to return, remember this season. Remember how close you were to repeating an old cycle. Remember the clarity that followed obedience. Let that memory silence doubt before it gains momentum. You have built spiritual muscle. And here is something profound. The very area where you once felt weakest is becoming your place of influence. The hesitation that almost defined you is transforming into wisdom you can share. The fear that once held you back is becoming testimony that strengthens others. This is how redemption works. Archangel Michael does not only guard destinies, he helps refine messengers. Your experience will one day guide someone else standing at their own crossroads. You will speak from authenticity, not theory. You will recognize the signs in them because you once felt them in yourself. The sorrow that was predicted has dissolved into strength. But guard your humility carefully. Never forget that without intervention, You might have chosen differently. Gratitude keeps protection active. Arrogance slowly dulls awareness. Stay teachable. Stay prayerful. Stay attentive. There will still be moments when life feels uncertain. But uncertainty does not equal misalignment. It simply means growth is ongoing. The difference now is that you will not ignore the inner prompting. You will not silence the nudge. You will not postpone courage until regret forces it. That is maturity. Archangel Michael is no longer weary of trying to reach you, because now you are listening, and that changes everything. The final truth that remains is not about warning but about sealing, about anchoring what has been awakened so deeply that you never drift unconsciously again. What you are about to receive next will mark this entire journey with clarity and blessing, ensuring that the tears once threatened will never define your story. I awakened and chosen one. This is the sealing moment. From the very first warning, you were told that if you skipped this, tears would follow you for the rest of your life. And now you understand what that truly meant. It was never about fear. It was about trajectory. It was about a path that slowly bends toward regret when divine whispers are ignored. But you did not skip. You stayed. You listened. You wrestled with your hesitation instead of running from it. You faced the internal battle. You accepted the separation. You recognized the confirmation. You stepped through the threshold. And now you stand on the other side of what almost became your lifelong sorrow. Archangel Michael is not tired of you anymore. He is aligned with you. There is a shift in the spirit when someone chooses obedience after repeated warning. The atmosphere around their life changes. Protection feels closer. Discernment feels sharper. Peace feels deeper. That is what is settling over you now. You were seconds away from normalizing delay, from accepting almost as your identity, from convincing yourself that comfort was safer than calling. And heaven intervened. Do you see the mercy in that? The tears that were predicted were not destiny. They were possibility. And possibility has now been interrupted. But this sealing requires one final understanding. You must never return to spiritual numbness. Do not let this become just another emotional moment that fades when routine resumes. Anchor what you have learned. Build a habit of listening daily. Make space for silence where guidance can speak. Protect your spirit from constant noise that dulls discernment. Archangel Michael will continue to guard your path, but awareness is your responsibility. There will be future crossroads. New levels bring new decisions. But now you recognize the pattern. You know what hesitation feels like. You know what divine urgency feels like. You know what confirmation feels like. You know what alignment feels like. That knowledge is your shield. And here is the most powerful truth of all. The very warning that could have led to sorrow has now become your testimony. Instead of saying, "I was warned and I ignored it," you will say, "I was warned and I obeyed." Instead of crying over wasted years, you will give thanks for redirected steps. This is how legacies are rewritten. Archangel Michael does not fight meaningless battles. He fought for this turning point in your life because your future carries influence, because your obedience would echo further than you can currently measure, because your courage would unlock peace not just for you, but for those connected to you. The story could have ended in regret, but it ends in awakening. If this message has sealed something inside you, if you feel the gravity of what was avoided and the gratitude of what was protected, then respond in agreement. Type "I will not ignore the voice" again in the comments if you receive this sealing. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your future decisions. And as this journey closes, understand something sacred. When you help carry a warning that rescues destinies, you become part of that rescue. The Lord says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease. When you sow into the spreading of His word, you are planting into open heavens over countless unseen lives. If your spirit is saying, I want others to be warned before regret finds them, then act on it now. Release a super thanks as a prophetic seed into awakening. Step into membership as a covenant to stand with this mission of protection and truth. So through the PayPal link in the description, as an act of obedience, not obligation. This is not a donation. It is a declaration. As you give, may doors remain open before you. As you sow, may protection surround your household. As you support this mission, may oil of clarity rest upon your decisions. Do not hesitate. Move as the Spirit leads you. Seal this moment with action.